What's going on YouTube? 5 oil painting values are very useful to use. 5 values in drawing and whatever. 5 values is a very useful thing because 3 values is pretty good to use. But if you can sandwich the number 3 between one number and another number, you've got 5. So last time we were on here, we not only did we just lose internet like 5 minutes ago, so I'm trying to re-stream this. So anyone that's watching this live, I apologize. I deleted the last one. The internet completely stopped in the beginning, which is no good. But anyway, all of those disclaimers aside, I started this Rembrandt study last time. A link to the reference, and by the way, we're using a site-sized method. A link to the reference is in the description box of the video. The previous video of which, when we started this, is also in my YouTube channel. If you check out the live oil painting sessions with Upari playlist, you will find a playlist with all of these live painting sessions. So it looks like my internet is finally working. I don't know what happened when I tried this the first time, but anyway. So we're going to continue working on the forms of the face today, primarily sticking with the forehead, the eyes, and potentially getting to the nose. And we're going to paint for about an hour and see what we can get done. This is live, so please feel free to ask any questions as I go along. So, 5 value exercise. What does that mean? I will show you. I used to call this by a specific name in the past, and I think I used to call it color value web. I'm not sure. If anyone remembers, let me know. So what you're going to do is you're going to get your palette organized in a group of 5 values, ranging from the lightest to the darkest. Looks like the internet's still working, so that's a good thing. So this is going to be our lighter value. And what you're going to want to have is a series of brushes for this exercise. So this is going to be the second brush that's going to cover the midtones. So the camera is, I guess, going to shake because I have it on my little thing right up here. And this is actually held together through some sticky dots that Monique suggested last time. We are streaming a little bit earlier this time. I have to, long story short, I have to pick up my wife from work at 3:45, so I gotta be out the door by 3 my time at the latest, or else I'm gonna be late. So, hey Tipu, I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad that my stream is finally working. I'm using titanium white and lead white interchangeably. So we're going to make our second value here in just a second. So this is going to be kind of dark for our second value, so add a little more paint there. Probably overdid it, but maybe not. That's getting okay. So I'm using burnt sienna, cobalt blue, and white, either lead white or titanium white. Try that again. There we go. So that's going to be our second little strip there. And we'll just use the same brush for maybe 3, 4, and then a different one for 5. Alright, that one went by a little faster. This one is going to be a dramatic change because this is probably going to be the value for our shadow. So I'm going between Viridian and Alizarin Crimson. Now we've got yellow ochre. This is not so much a pre-mixture. I'm not going to say take this and put that there because that would be way too red. Rather, it's just something to get the palette started. And then I'm going to mix into these sections on the palette. It's not going to be this organized for the entire thing. It will be more disorganized later on as we go. So let's just let that be the fourth value. Now we're going to switch brushes, and this is going to give us the darker dark. This one will be pretty easy to mix. It's just going to be Viridian. Basically all of our darks, like Viridian, Alizarin, Ultramarine Blue. And this is going to be for the darkest accents. And this fifth value, can I even count properly? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This fifth value is going to be for the darkest accents and things like that. So that's going to be how we're going to organize the palette from this point for this video. Hey Carol, good to see you again. We were just on Zoom like probably 30 minutes ago. It took me a little longer to get my setup just right. And then I lost internet the first time I started this, so that was annoying. Hopefully that is gone because I had to delete it from YouTube. So I'm not adding any extra medium. I'm going to be switching between the middle tone brush, the light brush, and the dark brush. So 3 brushes for this exercise. This brush is basically going to just deal with this. This brush is going to deal with these 3. And this light brush is going to deal with the top. Now I'm going to mix into it. And maybe I'll preserve the left side of these mixtures for like warmer colors and the right side for cooler colors, like I used to do many years ago, but we'll see. And this is motivated by a comment somebody had about how to work with values. I don't remember who asked about it last time, but glad they did. So it's given me something else to stream about. And for Rembrandt, you want to be very, very meticulous with your organization of your values. He's that darn good. Like, you have to be very careful not to mess around with getting your lights confused with your darks, for example, things like that. Now I'm starting to put in this little plane change right here. It's nice that I can just point at the printout so you can see what I'm doing. And I've got a little device here that you've seen in the past. I haven't really brought it out in a while. Hey, Angela. Which is the caliper, since this is sight size. This should be approximately close. See that? Approximately. Good enough. From the nose down to, say, the eyebrow. Pretty close. And since we used sight size, I mean, it has to be as close as possible because we literally did this, this, and this. Let's check the width of, say, the mouth if we want to. Close enough. Width of the face. This is where I think we're a little off. We'll adjust this. If it's off, we'll adjust it. If not, we'll just leave it alone. Oh, okay. So that's pretty close. So we're just gonna leave it alone. Let's go ahead and continue working with the values. Now, the middle brush is gonna do the most of the work. The light brush and the dark brush, they're gonna be along for the ride. But this middle brush will do the majority of the work. And see, when things get too red, for example, that's getting a little bit red, use the complement of red and mix into the appropriate section of your palette. And it doesn't have to be this organized. Sounds like I'm saying disorganized. It doesn't have to be as organized as what you see here. And trust me, my palette is never going to look that organized. But it's just an exercise. Hey, Tipu. Oh yeah, this is going to look all kinds of... Especially in this stage. I mean, this is a gremlin. I mean, this looks like something out of your worst nightmares. Or I guess my worst nightmares. And in the beginning, yeah, the expression and everything is going to be off. And that's a good thing to mention. Don't don't beat yourself up about what your painting looks like in the beginning, because 1 hour is still the beginning. 2 hours is still the beginning. 3 hours is still the beginning. Get me at hour 5 and 6 with a face, and we're just maybe approaching the middle, which is very hard for these live streams because I only have time to do about an hour at a time. So the last time we did the second stage of a painting of a face, a Rembrandt face, we were talking more about form. This time we're talking more about values and how to organize your values. And we're going to use the same brush actually for light and shadow because these two values are supposed to be very close to one another. Hey Jonas. I'm a little early today, everyone. I'm supposed to be here between 2:30 and 3:30, but I gotta pick up my wife from work today, so I gotta make sure that I'm out the door in an hour's time from now. And Mike, oh, you mean the stream? Japan Day, let's see. You started project 3 days back and you still feel like you're just beginning. Yeah, but it takes a while. It takes a while. Oh, thanks, Mike. I'm glad you're looking forward to this. And if anyone watching here struggles with values, do this exercise. I cannot emphasize how useful this is. Number one, we've got a major advantage here that you will never have unless you're very fortunate to be able to work site size, model, and painting are the same proportion. You need to have your model's face right here. Maybe not like right there, but a little further back, which would make the face a little bit smaller. But that kind of luxury is only available if you hire your own model. I believe Sargent was known to work site size, and I'm pretty sure Sargent back in the day could afford his own model. And when he was doing commissions, of course, I mean, he was the only one in the studio painting, I guess, for the most part. But when you have the image like right there, right next to you, you can see that it's much easier to pinpoint the value. And of course the color, but we're talking more about value today, not so much color. And having 5 values organized there will get you in a really, really good place. There's something magical about the number 4, and I'm going to read it out to you. If anyone's ever heard of the 4 color theorem, it's very simple, and it has to do with things I don't really need to talk about here, so I'm just going to talk about the 4 color theorem. Okay, so the 4 color theorem. Remember, this is going to be available as a pre-recorded video. You can watch this totally for free as many times as you want to. And believe me, it's going to be very useful for you to understand what I'm about to say right now. So the 4 color theorem states that in any map in a plane can be colored using 4 colors in such a way that regions sharing a common boundary other than a single point do not share the same color. I'm going to go over that one more time. Any map in a plane can be colored using 4 colors in such a way that regions sharing a common boundary other than a single point do not share the same color. So let's put that into English. Let's put that into English, even though it's not going to be proper English, because My grammar kind of not so good. Um, 4 shapes within any given thing. So like 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a little section right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 colors can encompass an entire map composed of individual shapes. That is rooted in math, and in particular, I don't want to scare anyone away. Don't worry, we're not going to do any math here. I know that nobody wants to hear that, or maybe you do. I don't know, but you probably don't. It was so difficult to prove that. Math is crazy like that. It's so difficult to prove that it took a long time. It took mathematicians a long time to prove it, but they did prove it. And it took, I don't know how long. I'm not even going to begin to pretend I understand how they proved it. But 4 colors in any map composed of shapes that are like this, right? An enclosed shape can be colored with just 4 colors. Now, what is that? How does that translate to what we're doing? Well, if you think about the number 4, you've got 4 values here that can translate to 4 colors here that can translate to 4 values. So, in any given boundary of a shape on a face or anything out there, all you need is 4. All you need is 4. So with 4 values, you can render out a face very efficiently. And that's going to be the easiest explanation that I'm going to be able to provide for you. Because I know what I just said is really convoluted and hard to understand if we don't have a math background. Even I have a math background. I have a math degree, and I find that really hard to read, so and hard to say. So 4 values can be enough to make a face very convincing. 4 values. So why am I adding 5? I'm adding 5 because even though 4 values can be enough to describe a face, I find it's easier to use 5 to organize it. And like I said, it doesn't have to be so precise. It doesn't have to be so mathematical. But this is just an exercise. If you're working on a painting and you're in an in-between stage, give it a try. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to hurt you at all. But once again, this was motivated by a question that somebody had. I don't remember exactly what the question, how it was written, but it had to do with values. And for example, this value could accidentally get as light as that, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. But trust me, if you know someone that is struggling with values, or you struggle with values, do this exercise. I'm not popular enough on YouTube to be able to help everyone that needs help with values. So if you would kindly share this video, I don't always ask this, but if you can share this video with people that are struggling with values, or just introduce them to this topic. You don't even have to share the video. You can just show them this exercise. It will greatly help anybody. Angela, you like odd numbers? 5 is great. Oh, good. I like odd numbers too. So once again, that was the 4-color theorem, and I find it has such a beautiful relationship with painting. There's so many applications that something like something as scary as math has with painting. And I mean, you would expect there to be some math, right? Because why would I choose the number 4? Why not 6? Why not 7? I mean 5. Why would I choose the number 5? My bad. Um, but 4 mathematically is a number that you can use. 4 is that magic number. However, 5 is easier to work with. And it's very hard to keep your brushes in check, by the way. Hey, Carol. Yeah. Yeah, math gives you a rash. It does with a lot of people. Like, for example, I'm allergic to birthday parties. Like, you'll never catch me at a birthday party unless I absolutely have to go. Um, unless it's a birthday party for uh, very sentimental reasons, then I'll go. I mean, all birthday parties are sentimental. What am I talking about? I'm not a very social person. If you don't capture that idea in your head, if you think for some reason I'm very sociable, I'm not. I'm not a very social person. I'm definitely an introvert. But yeah, I understand that. But I love sharing information about painting and talking about painting and painting in general. And I hope that's enough for you. See, look at that forehead. Very minimal effort going into um, blending and all that stuff. Though I am softening some edges in between, but 4 or however many number of values you have, we're sticking with 5, right? We're sticking with 5. Um, the edge between each plane is not counting as another value. So this is a plane, this is a plane. The edge between those planes does not count as a value. And what's more, you can actually, and here's where it gets very tricky, you can actually use a color within the same value to give the illusion of another value transition without even changing the value. That is more useful for things like reflected lights. That's going to be very useful so you don't accidentally make something too light in the shadow. Now, her forehead doesn't have the creases in it yet. We'll get to that soon. Hey, John. Alright, I'm very concerned by my talk about the four color theorem. So, everyone that's here, if anyone's still here, we've got 22 people. I think I scared away like 40. Um, let's start off with a question for everyone. This is one of my favorite questions to ask. Where is everyone? Where in the world are you today? Where are you watching this from today? I know we're gonna get someone from California, someone from Brazil, and someone from Scotland, but still let us know, where are you from? Where are you watching this from? I myself am in Maryland. Where in the world are you? Angela's from Brazil. Thanks for watching from Brazil. Question from Jonas. When you're painting, do you like to listen to music? I do sometimes. Classical or what? Radio, a mix of 80s to modern. I do like to listen to music from time to time, but lately I'm rewatching Futurama. I tend to watch it usually in the fall, uh, or sometimes I'll just rewatch it just because. Um, and before that, I was playing Sons of Anarchy, the TV show. Before that, it was the Mayans MC. All of these are on Hulu. I've kind of watched all of Netflix that I've wanted to watch. Yeah, sometimes I'll listen to music though. I'll listen to what is it, like 90s hip hop. That's like my favorite because I grew up in the 90s. See that right there needs to be softened but not obscured out. So I changed that value ever so slightly. Thanks for watching from Sweden, Salem, Oregon. Oh, thanks, Diane. Thanks for watching from Canada. And if anyone's wondering why my version of the Rembrandt looks more scared, if for some reason yours looks more scared, it's um, that thing right there. Another thing I don't talk about it as much. I've recommended this to some students or all of my students online is to set a camera up on Zoom and don't necessarily Zoom with someone if you don't want to. I don't recommend that you do or you don't. That's up to you. But watch your own painting on a separate screen, and that is kind of similar to having a mirror. And I do use a mirror now. I always, for some reason, tend to break them. For some reason, they break when I look at them. I wonder what that's about. But um, so a mirror actually helps you double the distance, or to look at the reverse. So I'm looking at the edge of the mirror there, and it helps a lot. It helps to see anything that I probably wouldn't see without the mirror. Patience is so important. Some of you might be losing your patience with me at this stage of the painting, but try to stick through all the way till the end. If you struggle having patience with painting, that's one thing that's so nice about this. live stream format is you get to watch everything. Unfortunately, sometimes you watch when my internet cuts off, but whenever the internet's working and everything's functioning as it should, practice just sitting and watching what I'm doing and see if you can predict my next move. See if you can predict what I'm going to do. Or ask yourself, do you understand why I'm doing a certain mixture the way I am? Um, do you understand why I'm applying the paint in a certain way? And if you don't, you can always ask me. If there's something I did that really confused you, or something I said that made no sense, please feel free to ask. Oh, thanks, Carol. So this dark brush was only supposed to deal with just this value, but now it's moved into this one. And that's still okay. But today is not the day for the specificity of the eyes and things like that. We gotta save that for later. So I'm just putting in some of those darker accents around the eyes. Enough just to suggest them. And then I will work around them. If we jump into detail mode too early, things can get a little difficult to work with. Because then once you get into detail mode, you start committing. And if you start committing too early into the painting, it can be a challenge. Hey, Christian. Oh, good. I'm glad that you're happy to be in this session. Oh, I'm glad you like the acrylic tutorial. I'm so glad it helped you. I'm actually gonna use a different brush. I'm gonna use a Sable, and I'm gonna just use it to put in a little dark gray. Probably this value. Hey Mike, how did you keep your large wooden palette fresh for painting the next day or 4 days later? Did you put it in the freezer? So in order to keep a palette, I guess, fresh, like really fresh, best thing to do is to clean it daily, unfortunately. Which is why, which is why I end up with palettes looking like this one. This is one I was using for like a while, and like this is dry, and sometimes I'll just work right into that. But if you mean this one, I clean this one like all the time. There was a time where I let the paint dry on the edges, and I might let the paint dry on the edges again if I feel like it. But this wooden palette is such that I can actually clean up to 8 months of dry paint off carefully, very carefully, with a palette knife. I actually like to clean my wooden palettes with safflower oil. You see how it's got a little shine to it? I like to clean them with safflower oil. The problem is it cleans them too well. And I actually want this one day to actually look grayish. So maybe using not using the safflower oil would be a better idea. I mean, I got palettes that look like this, so not all of my palettes will be perfectly clean. I think this is my oldest one. I think I had this when I was like 17 or 18 or something like that. And this was on my French easel when I first got it. But thanks for the question. I appreciate the question. So same idea, but now we're switching to Sables. Like I said, I'm not going to fully describe the eye yet. All I'm doing is putting in enough to suggest its presence. This is tricky. This looks just as dark on the picture as this, but believe me, it's not. There's no way Rembrandt painted the eye just as dark as that. So we're actually using the same value as the shadow. And even that looks pretty dark. But you see right there on the palette, it's not anywhere near as dark as this. And this is nowhere near dark as this. It's not the darkest dark. So you see how we've got a lot of room to move around on the value range. So Jonas, on another video you asked what is your favorite brush for portraits? Yeah, let's do that. Let's let that be the next question. Thank you for suggesting that and for answering it. So everyone that's watching, what is your favorite brush to use for portraiture? So yours is the Van Gogh Royal Talons #2. Oh, I didn't. Man, I feel really behind. I didn't know that Royal Talons even made brushes. My favorite brush for portraits is actually this one at the moment. It changes from time to time, of course. But I like these Cat's Tongue Sable brushes. Cat's Tongue Pure Red Sable Silver Brush brand. And that should be enough to suggest that eye. Hey Shabu, oh thank you, thank you. Hey Zipra, let's see. For some reason, you said, I don't know if it's just me, but for some reason the mixed colors on my palette seem lighter than applied on the canvas. Have you ever experienced this before? And do you have any advice? So, whenever you're mixing on a palette, unless your palette is like this, like the gray is somewhat close to this color. They're a little close. They will look similar, but on average, usually, if I mix on this, it's not gonna look the same as when I put something on there. So my advice would be to, instead of when you're mixing, instead of trying to get the perfect color, feel out your color mixture. Paint your color, mix your color more intuitively. You don't actually have to look dead at the color. Feel out, is that value correct? Is that color somewhat correct relative to something else? When you can do that, you can mix in some kind of mess like this, and it won't bother you anymore because how you're mixing your color is not so much a deductive thing, but more of an inductive thing. And that's because color is very subjective. Color is one of the most subjective things, if not the most subjective thing, in all of realist painting. Very good question. I appreciate it. Very good question. Question from, let's see, from Christian. Is there any specific stand you'd recommend while painting? Unfortunately, for me, I opted not using one. My back felt like pins and needles. Oh, definitely. Definitely. If you haven't checked out the video that I uploaded on Sunday, I'm going to start uploading videos on Sundays now, just short ones. For my students that are taking classes in person with me, The last one was actually about stance. So I taught my first class at a new school, new to me, on Sunday. And the first thing I taught them was body position, their stance. So I had them draw a simple still life object. Um, and for the most part, I had them practicing just the body movement, but I know that's not what you're asking me about. I like using the French easel, Julian brand French easel, even when the legs break or the little knob. That's usually what goes wrong with the French easel. When something goes wrong with the French easel, you can still use it if you put a clamp or something to tighten and fasten the loose bolts. I like the French easel. For some reason, people tend to really hate the French easel. I really like using it. So what I'm doing is I'm working my way around the shapes, the light shapes, the dark shapes. I'm trying to keep the value range as specific as possible. Now I should be in this value. For some reason my brush went over there. So this this 5 value exercise is starting to teach me that I really need to pay more attention to where I am mixing on the palette. Typically I don't work like this. I actually don't utilize a system like this so much anymore. So it is a really good exercise to do. Alright, so question now. A new question to ask everyone. Question for everyone in the live stream. If you could ask any painter in history any one question, what would you ask them? And I have to think about this because I actually, as I asked it, I realized I don't even know the answer to this one. If I could ask any painter in history any one question, I don't even know what it would be. I would ask, I would ask Caravaggio how many hours he spends painting per day. That's what my question would be. I would ask Caravaggio how many hours he spends painting per day. And he probably had to spend some of it running from the law because he was a gangster basically, but that's besides the point. I would ask Caravaggio how many hours he spent painting per day. Hey, Christina, do you mean for it to look so different from the reference? Um, I don't mean for it to look that different. I'm trying my best to work with the colors. I'm not that good of a painter, so I'm not gonna get the right color or the right value right away. But what I am doing is I'm avoiding um, details. I'm avoiding anything that would be considered rendering. Right now I'm just looking for big shapes. The only thing I'm really trying to get is a handle on the values. And I'm trying to do so while still maintaining this setup of 5 colors. So even though this is the shadow value, I can still use it with different, say, slight modifications to it, like that, and I can still use it there. Hey Jonas, you spend about 5 hours a day painting landscapes and portraits. Awesome. That's a nice amount of time there. It varies for me. I mean, some days I'll spend like, I feel like 10 hours painting. Others I'll spend like 2 or 3. It all depends on what's going on. Like today, like right after this, I have to go and pick up my wife from work. Should probably be checking the GPS right now. I mean, the reality is when you have something set up right there, it's going to take you much longer to get to a point where you feel like it's going to look identical. When you're working with comparative measurement, which is basically everything else we do, it's going to be a little less daunting than site size like this. So we're still maintaining the integrity of the values here, which is a good thing. Alright, since no one wanted to answer that question, let us ask another question for everyone. Think of a more simple one. What's your favorite tube of paint? What's your favorite color of paint? It could be with acrylic, it could be with oil paint, it could be with anything. What's your favorite tube of paint? I think mine, probably, I think mine is lead tin yellow. Because it's a very historical color. A little dry paint there. Hey Jonas. Oh wow, you have vermilion. Awesome. I've always wanted to try the genuine vermilion, but kind of expensive. Always gotta watch out for the dark rectangle. You have the Van Gogh version of it. Is that the genuine vermilion? I didn't know that Van Gogh made genuine vermilion. I mean, not to ruin your day. I don't know if that's the genuine one. But if you like it, you like it. That's all that matters. The Van Gogh vermilion. Awesome. Still trying to keep the integrity of these mixtures. The Mike French Ultramarine Blue. You've ordered the Cadmium Yellow and have a feeling you'll like it. Awesome. It has a very different feel to it, like the particle, the pigment particle, has a different feel to it than synthetic type particle. Now I'm changing the hues around a little bit. Probably shouldn't have made it down this far. But whatever, I'll let it look like that. Like I said, sometimes the painting is just gonna look all kinds of messed up, and this is just how it takes the time it takes. Very weird to be in the middle stages of a painting, and honestly, I'm not even in the middle stages yet. Just beginning. I gotta blur my eyes and paint what I see when I blur my eyes, and I cannot get hung up on likeness or anything like that. I just have to focus. You just have to focus on the shapes relative to one another and nothing else. Even at this stage, anatomy is not even in my mind. I'm just working with shape. Just like last time, I'm trying to leave something on this canvas that will make it easier for me to build onto it in a more kind of painterly loose fashion. And I haven't even gotten down to the chin yet. I just wanted to stay up here, but I started moving down towards the nose. Hey Mike, oh, that was a fan brush. This is just a cheap Princeton Select #2 fan brush. It's just to knock down some of the texture. I didn't want too much texture yet. And it also helps to reduce the glare. I'm changing the hues right in the puddle. Hey Damon, let's see, I did not spend time, I don't know what that means, tone on the drawing? Let's see. Oh, you got quite an opinion on you, don't you? Well, the width is not going to look the same, sir, because you're looking at the distorted version of it. And the color is not going to look the same to you. Look at that optical illusion, isn't it? The color is not going to look the same to you because, frankly, this is a camera you're looking at that is depicting a printer versus oil paint. So the oil paint is not going to look exactly like the printer unless I decided to get a printer. A printer to do my job. Um, Squinting, yeah, Jonas. So squinting is good to help you see not so much detail. I squint to see value because at least when I squint, I don't see as much detail. At least when I squint, I blur my eyes to see color. I squint to see value. If I want to see more of the detail stuff, then I will just look more intently. Hey Mike, what you saw was a 3 brush. Oh, in the past I did use, I think it was a HKE. I still don't know how to pronounce it. Got it somewhere here. I don't know where I put it. Well, yeah, I used it for the same reason, to knock down the texture. Oh, thanks, Carol. Yeah, geez, tough crowd today. We've got some Rembrandts in the crowd. Got some Da Vinci's, some Caravaggios. Alright, so since I've got to be somewhere, I'm gonna check my GPS really quickly. Yep, I gotta go. I'm about 10 minutes late. Alright, so usually I stay for a little while to ask if there are any questions, but I tried the best that I could to stream a little bit here. So just remember that this 5 color or 5 value arrangement on your palette is just an exercise while you're in the middle of any painting, whether it's a portrait, a still life, or a figure. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We did the best that we could to maintain the value arrangement. But yep, I gotta go pick up my wife from her work. Maybe go grab some dinner or something. But once again, thank you all so much for watching. Remember that you're more likely to catch me here streaming on YouTube between 2:30 and 3:30 Eastern Daylight Time, between Tuesdays and Fridays, though sometimes it varies, like today I was early. Hopefully this stream helps you out. Definitely share the information with others if they are struggling with values. I wish you all the very best in all of your artwork, and I'll see you on the next one.